Soil test will tell us the different strengths on different areas. Say you have a large area and you're doing a large project, and then the project spans from the area of soil that is okay to the area of soil that is weaker than the other area. So that helps us to adjust the foundation appropriately, because without that knowledge you may go ahead and do the same type of foundation on this building, so that some part of the building is on stable soil and then another part is on weaker soil. What you find Okay, about soil testing, this is a very important activity that must be carried out before the construction of any building. Unfortunately, many buildings in this country are carried out without that being done, and it is a very risky venture. Now, soil tests advises the engineer on everything about the foundation. The soil test is carried out, to tell you what kind of structure will be able to stand on that land. For instance, a client might have the idea of putting up a 6-story building, but then the soil may not be strong enough to carry that size of building. So, before doing any construction on any piece of land, we carry out the soil test. That will tell us the strength of the material there, and that strength enables us to determine what load must be applied on that soil. It tells us whether we should carry out any improvement on that soil before construction takes effect. It also tells us the kind of foundation that we need to put on that soil. Because not all foundations can just put any kind of the foundation applicable on another site to this other site. So the soil test will give you all the information required to carry out and to make informed decisions on your foundation. And remember, the foundation is a very important element of any building structure, because the foundation is what carries the building. It's like the legs of a human being, the feet of an individual. Without the feet, mobility is impossible. So your foundation also acts as that support for the building, and the soil is like the ground. Imagine walking on a swampy piece of land, on a swampy ground. It will be very difficult to move freely. So when you have that, you must now determine what kind of footwear you need, and it will guide your movements and how you move on that land. So that's what the soil testing does. Soil test gives you the necessary information about the land, so that if, for instance, you were planning on part foundation, we're going to be technical now, on part footings, the soil test might let you know that part footings may not exactly work. So you may have to go with raft, or the soil test might say carry out some improvements. There are certain soil stabilization methods that we carry out to improve the strength of the soil. So it helps you to determine the kind of foundation you put on that soil. It helps to determine the load, the weight of the building on that soil, because you may have thought of building, say, a 4-story building on the soil, but after testing, and doing the necessary checks, you see that without any improvement, it may not sustain the weight of that structure. So soil testing is very important, and we do that for our clients here at Fortreal Rei Ltd. We ensure that we test the soil to know the strength of the soil, and then to also determine what kind of foundation will be adopted for that project. It is done before the design. Remember, we design our buildings. We don't just go ahead and start building without carrying out a design and following the proper specifications. So it informs our choice of design concept, it informs our choice of foundation, and then it advises us on the kind of structure and what to do as we proceed in that construction. Then again, in carrying out soil tests, you discover that you may have a large expanse of land, and some areas of the land are okay, and some other areas you have some unstable stuff there, some weak spots, some weak areas of the land. So soil test is why you have a large expanse of land and you plan to develop all that area. Soil test will tell us the different strengths on different areas. Say you have a large area and you're doing a large project, and then the project spans from the area of soil that is okay to the area of soil that is weaker than the other area. So that helps us to adjust the foundation appropriately. Because without that knowledge, you may go ahead and do the same type of foundation on this building, so that some part of the building is on stable soil and then another part is on weaker soil. What you'll find out is that over time there's differential settlement. So the building in the beginning, all of them were at this level, and then after a while, the part on the weaker soil starts going down. And once it starts going down, there's differential settlement, that is, and then it causes some cracks, defects on that building. So that is what happens in many cases where you have cracks on some buildings, in many cases where you have buildings tilting to one end, and in the worst cases could lead to building failure, collapse. So the soil testing gives us all the information we need on the soils in that area. It also helps us to determine how much we spend on the foundation. Now, this is a very good point, because if you do not have that information, say for instance, you have fantastic soil in a particular area, but then the builder goes ahead to do the building as if it were on a weak soil. So the client ends up spending so much money because there was the assumption that the soil was not okay, or just lifted the foundation from another building, the same type of foundation, and applied it to this building. So the client ends up spending more when he could have spent less, because the soil had the capacity, to do more. And when a soil is very good, you spend less on reinforcement. Rods are very expensive. On cement, so you just go with the basic requirements. You don't need to do any extra measures. So this helps us. And then there are some soils that you have very, very high water levels. The water levels are very high that you may not know. So those things you find out in the rainy season, that there's, for instance, in the rainy season, there's capillary action. So water starts rising, and without that information, without soil testing, without information about the water movement, the soil in that area, the kind of soils. Now, capillary action takes place when you have very sandy soils. So if you are doing a structure in that area, you must take care of that kind of activity, that action, that capillary action during the rainy season. Else, you find out that after construction, your walls are soaked, the foundation is soaked, there's so much water coming up, and then no paint stays there, nothing stays there. It is very common, and it's because this is not taken care of during construction, because the information is not there, because the knowledge is not there. So we take care of capillary action, and this is gained when you carry out soil testing. You don't do a fantastic building and then you have that ugly event taking place. You see soaked walls all around, and then you start having to do remedy measures when it could have been taken care of at the foundational stage. So this is why we carry out soil testing, to know how the soil behaves all year round, so that we can take care of that at the point of construction, so you don't have to spend more. So soil testing is an activity that you spend a little money to save a lot more in the future. And so all our projects, we carry that out, so that when we are done with that element, everything is taken care of at the foundational stage, and then a client can sleep peacefully and enjoy his building once it's completed.